our first video for Let's Study for UPSC, and the main topic is Indian National Movement, in which firstly we cover Indian National Congress. As we all know, it was the first in political organization which is at all Indian level. It is a group which is in all Indian organization, and it is finally shaped by the idea given by Ayush. The first session of INC was held at Gokuldas Tejpal Sanskrit College, Bombay in December 1885. The introductory session of this organization, which is known as INC, is held in 1883 and 1885. The main architect was Surendranath Banerjee and Mohan Bose. The first session was attended by 72 delegates. It was an important session because it was a foundation of a national movement with an organization known as Indian National Congress, and it is presided by Homesh Chand Banerjee. It is an important question as it was the first session toward Indian independence. Great presidents, there are many of them, and few mentionable names are Dadabhai Nauroji, which was elected thrice as the president of Indian National Congress, and Behruddin Tayyibji, Firoz Shah Mehta, Anand Mohan Bose, and G.K. Gokhale. And where there are many other prominent leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, G. Subramanian Iyer, M. Madan Mohan Malviya, Imran Ade, etc. And the first woman graduate of Calcutta University is Kadamini Ganguly in 1890. It was not important and not of this topic, but it is important as it may be helpful for you. And the main question is, was it a safety valve? And the answer is yes, as many theories suggested that Hume formed the Congress with the idea that it would prove a safety valve toward the discontent among the people, among the Indians, because many of Indians are being treated cruelly by British, as their taxes are increased, that they face discrimination and many of the problems among them. And many extremists like Lala Lajpat Rai said that it is a conspiration theory of safety valve, like it is a conspiracy against Indians to make the movement slow, or to stop them from demanding. And whereas many modern thinkers think that it represents the urge of political conscience, because there was no group before them and no organization which are functionally well or functional for national movement. So it was the first national body to express their political bills and demands which are made by them by this organization. So yes, they have two perspectives of safety valve. Okay. And secondly, we talk about aim and objective of Congress. So there are many of them. Like first is found a democratic nationalist movement. So it is the need of that time that there is a movement. What is the way of movement? How to give it a way? So everyone decided that the Congress is made to found a democratic nationalist movement. And secondly, develop and propagate anti-colonial feeling, because people are dissatisfied, but they didn't know what to react, what to do. So it is the main objective of Congress to develop and propagate anti-nationalist ideology. Okay. Thirdly, to establish headquarters for movement, because every movement need a headquarter or need a point to coordinate it, because without leader, the movement can't survive, as we seen in 1857, because there is a lack of leadership, lack of everything. So this. And fourth is development and consolidate feeling of national unity. Yes, national unity feeling is very important for nationalism and liberation of the country. So it was also its aim. And mainly, and then we come to era of moderates. It's between 1885 to 1905. They were staunch believer in liberalism. Yes, as the name suggests, moderates means they believe in liberalism theory. They believe that don't go against the government, but serve the government and seek to improve them. They never believe in struggling with government. So yes, these are liberal, yeah, and moderate approach. their approach. Their approach involved constitutional agitation with the confine of law. They don't want to break the law to do a movement. They want to be under the law and do constitutional agitation. Means like you are doing a strike. This is a constitutional agitation. But when you do a violent strike, it's not a constitutional agitation. Okay. The moderate believe that British basically want to be just to Indians. Yeah, moderates believe that British was want to just with Indians, but they believe they didn't know how do we satisfy Indians. So they have an objective to give him an idea to satisfy India or given the demands that was needed by Indians. Okay, they worked on two-pronged methodology. Yes, they create on public opinion to arouse people on common political question. Yeah, they believe that public opinion is important on political question. Only political opinion is not important. Only a zone of people or only a section of people is not whole country. The representation of public opinion is also important. Secondly, they persuaded the British government to introduce reform for the betterment of the people or the reform which is in nationalist life. They want a slow production and mainly said they want a process of moderates highly depend on the three P's concept like prayer, petition and protest. Firstly, they pray about their demands. Then they do petition in their government. And thirdly, when they fail to report a constitutional agitation, then they start to protest. Okay, and the protest is under the law, so it can't be violent. Okay, and then British Committee of INC was organized in London 1889. India is its organ. And in 1890, it was decided that there was a session of INC held at London in 1892. What? Due to election of 1891, it was postponed and never been in London. So yes, this is the story of era of moderates. And then we come to a topic: contribution of moderates and nationalists. Yes, the first contribution that may be economic critique of British imperialism. As we know that India was a golden world before British come here, and India was a very rich country from this early time. We also see in Vedic that India is rich in many minerals and many things. But we came to the modern topic. So it's economic critique of British imperialism. Early nationalism led by Dadabhai Naoroji, R.C. Datta and others give us a drain theory that tell about the British exploitation of India. Yes, there was no one before them who tell about the general people or general section of India that British are overwhelming you of burdens of taxes and many things. What there was no way to express. Why the drain theory of Dadabhai Naoroji, people get connected to him as they face these things daily. And they oppose the transformation of basically self-sufficient Indian economy to colonial economy. As we are self-sufficient, we didn't want to import anything from other country. We were the country which self-sufficient us. We have no need to export the things to other country and import the things from other country. We are self-sufficient in nature. What the British made us are colonial economy. They export our item in British in a cheaper rates and import their item on India and not import by their choices. What forcefully import the things and made us they made us aware about the condition, the helplessness of our people to buy their products. As our products are not available and they are exported, they are exempt with heavy taxes duty and their products are cheaper, so that customer will go with their products and get addicted to them. That is the colonial economy in short. And moderates were able to create all Indian public opinion that British India is a major cause of poverty. Yes, by drain theory, they think and they express their thoughts in such a way that British are the only reason for major cause of poverty that was faced by India, as the Bengal famine, and these disasters are under the British rule, as they were not sufficient to manage the Indian public economy. Yeah, and next point, it demands severance of Indian economic subsidies to Indian and development of Indian economy, demand reduction in land revenue. Yes, this is an important topic as they demand reduction in land revenue, abolition of salt taxes, improvement working condition of plantation labor in Assam, and the tea plantation like tea, they were in a very bad condition and they were exploited mainly by landlords and many others. But their base are like just limited. They didn't want to strike forcefully. They want to only petition, prayer, and they didn't go against the government, but only pray about please give us that. Look, not like Satyagraha. And secondly, the topic is constitutional reform and propaganda in legislature. Legislative council in India has no real official power till 1920. Okay, till 1920 it's only in paper that there is a legislative council, but no real official power. Imperialist legislative council constituted by Indian Council Act 1861 में आ गया था, but there is no such things in this law because there is no power. Because without power there is no, only names. Indian members were very few in 30 years, like 45, only 45 members were nominated in 30 years, like 80 from 1862 to 1892, there is only 45 members, and mostly are wealthy, elites, and from well-eyed, educated pupils. They didn't want anything, they didn't want their profit, not a huge section of India, which is like peasant, artisans, and these, there's no demands for there, no representative from them. Only handful of political figures like Sayyid Ahmad Khan, Krishnodas Pal, B.N. Mandle, Raspberry Ghosh, they are in the council. In 30 years, there are huge time. Then they demanded for constitutional amendments, expansion of council. This was a point in a demand which is very important, like greater participation of India. Like 45 members is such a few amount in 30 years. So they want a greater participation of India, which was essential at that time, the need of time. Reform of council, control over finance. It is important that control over finance is very important, because when there is a British, they didn't control over finances, and that led to economic crisis in India. Okay, and next we go, it's worked over a long term of objective of a democratic self-government. Like, yes, they always demand to us democratic self-government like their other colonies. They were highly inspired with Australia and Canada. They have their self-government for a long time, which was demanded by them. They didn't want Pur Swaraj or that things. They have a only objective of democratic self-government. And they demand concede in 1892 in form of Indian Council Act. 1892 में उन्होंने इंडियन काउंसिल एक्ट के रूप में एक अच्छा अपने रिफॉर्म को वो करा लिया, बट दे वर सेवरली क्रिटिसाइज्ड एट कांग्रेस सेशन बिकॉज द डिमांड्स वर राइजिंग डे बाई डे. नाउ द डिमांड्स मेजॉरिटी ऑफ इलेक्टेड इंडियंस की मेजॉरिटी होनी चाहिए, कंट्रोल ओवर द बजट के ऊपर कंट्रोल होना चाहिए, क्योंकि रैपिडली खर्चा हो रहा था सब. लाइक वी आर स्पेंडिंग ऑन द वॉर्स, वी आर स्पेंडिंग ऑन फॉरेन रिलेशंस, एंड विच वॉज not a important thing at that time, and we are spending a lot of them. So this was importantly needed, and scope of the constitutional demands was widened. Like we are seeing the democracy is not as only self-government, we are seeing as it as a large, because Dada Bhai Naroji, Lokman Tilak, these are the leaders that see or observe Australia and Canada. And there is a campaign for general administration reform. As we know, the Indians get a low pay than British officials. They are also given a small post, as they are not discriminated against, always discriminated, as they are not being capable for the responsibility as British think. And the main demands for general administration reforms are call for separation of judiciary from executive function, because there is a very hand of judiciary in executive functions, so they want a separation. And the criticism of oppressive and tyrannical bureaucracy, and the criticism on aggression, foreign law, foreign expansion, which result in economic drain. Okay, so it's also call for expenditure on welfare of the country in which you ruling, and the demand for better treatment of Indian laborers abroad the British colonies, and Yes, and the next topic is protection of civil rights. As civil rights was of speech, thought, association, and freedom of press was constantly being under pressure by British. So it is the demand of that time that they are come under civil rights. So the defense of civil rights become an integral part of freedom struggle. Due to increased consciousness in the public, Tilak and several other leaders of journalism was outraged in 1897. Evolution of early nationalists. Yes, this is the evolution what the early nationalists do and what is their failure or success. They did a great deal in awakening the Indians, but they didn't draw the masses from them. Representative of most progressive force. It is the most progressive force of time. Okay, so they represent the most progressive force at that time, able to create a wide national awakening of all Indians having common interest. या ऑब्वियसली उन्होंने पूरी इंडिया को इससे अवेयर करा है कि क्या इंटरेस्ट है इंडियंस के एंड एट्सेट्रा, एंड ट्रेंड पीपल इन पॉलिटिकल वर्क एंड पॉपुलराइज मॉडर्न आइडियाज़, द मॉडर्न आइडियाज़ विच आर अभी तक जो एक्सेस करते थे एलाइट क्लास, अब वो नॉर्मल क्लास को भी समझ में आने लगे थे कि पॉलिटिकल वर्क्स क्या होते हैं, पॉलिटिकल आइडियाज़ क्या होते हैं. एक्सपोज द बेसिकली एक्सप्लॉइटिव करेक्टर ऑफ कॉलोनियल रूल, और उन्होंने एक्सपोज किया जो कॉलोनियल रूल आपसे एक्सप्लॉइटेशन कर रही है, ये कर रही है, तो उसके बारे में. And then political work was based on shallow sentiment, religion. It is a successful movement in some ways somehow, but it didn't value this movement. This movement is a great success toward Indian nationalists, but there is a flaw in this. Like the movements are not involved in that, and society masses are failed. They are failed to realize that it was not during a freedom struggle, and with political parties these diverse element of society like women, students, they are also involved in the revolution, and there the movement is failed of early nationals. So this is all about Indian National Congress that I know, and thank you for watching. This is Ayush Gupta from this side. Thank you. It is a successful movement in some ways somehow, but it didn't value this movement. This movement is a great success toward Indian nationalists, but there is a flaw in this. Like the movements are not involved in that, and society masses are failed. They are failed to realize that it was not during a freedom struggle, and with political parties these diverse element of society like women, students, they are also involved in the revolution, and there the movement is failed of early nationals. So this is all about Indian National Congress that I know, and thank you for watching. This is Ayush Gupta from this side. Thank you.